Hello, Bio 214. This video consists of going over the respiratory system parts for the lab exam 2 that will be posted later this week. And so, looking over the respiratory system lab handout here, you have 3 models that you want to go over. So I'm starting off with the first one here, a bisected head model. And so looking at the bisected head model, the first thing on the list is a nares, which is an external nostril. So if I turn this around here, the nares is the hole, the nostril hole right here. Okay, so that will be the nares right there. And looking at it from here, a little hole right here. Alright, next is the nasal cavity. Nasal cavity is this whole area right here. All of this is a nasal cavity. And if I show you this from another model here, all this is the nasal cavity. Now, the olfactory epithelium. The olfactory epithelium is a tissue that covers all the nasal cavity. So all this tissue that covers that, all this tissue, this light pink tissue right here, is olfactory epithelium. The next three on the list is folds: superior concave, middle concave, and inferior concave. So superior concave, middle concave, inferior concave. So those are 3 folds. We got this one here: superior concave, middle concave, inferior concave. So again, concave means folds. So you got the 3 folds there. When you talk about the meatus are the indentations in between the folds. So you got only 2 meatus. You have the middle meatus right here, and you have an inferior meatus right here. Looking at the next model here. So again, the folds to the concave, superior, middle, inferior, and the 2 meatus, middle meatus, inferior meatus. The opening of the auditory tube. The auditory tube is also known as the eustachian tube. Now that would be right here. You see this little indentation right there? That would be the opening of the auditory or the eustachian tube. It's a little indentation right here. Looking at the other model, where's that opening for the eustachian tube is? Right there. That little indentation right there. Okay, next is 3 parts of the nasal, or the 3 parts of the pharynx: the nasal pharynx, oral pharynx, and laryngeal pharynx. So pharynx is throat. So when you look at this whole back area right here, this whole thing right here is the pharynx. Now this can be split up into 3 different regions. You have the nasal pharynx, which is right behind the nasal cavity. The oral pharynx is this region that's right behind the mouth. And then you have this region that's connected to the larynx called the laryngeal pharynx. So looking at on this model here, you have the nasal pharynx, the oral pharynx, and the laryngeal pharynx here. Next, the structure is the epiglottis. The epiglottis is a little flap. Here's the flap right here. This is the flap that covers the larynx whenever you are swallowing food or drink. Looking at this model, this is the epiglottis right there. So again, if you look at here, this little flap comes down and covers the larynx whenever you're swallowing food or liquid. Okay, the vestibular folds and the vocal folds deals with the cords right here that goes into the larynx. So here's the larynx right here. And so you got the vestibular folds, which is the first one here. And then you have the second one is the actual vocal folds. So the vocal folds are movable ones. The vestibular folds are not movable. Now if you look at this one right here, you see the 2 sets here. The upper one is the vestibular folds. The bottom one is the vocal folds. Then you have the different cartilage. You have thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage. Alright, and so looking at this bisected head model right here, the thyroid cartilage is the largest one right here. And then the cricoid cartilage is down below it. Then you have the trachea right down here where you see the tracheal rings. So again, thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, and then you have the trachea where you have the tracheal rings on there. This model doesn't really show it that well. You saw the thyroid cartilage and that's it. But you can see more with the next model, which is the larynx model. And so when I pull up the larynx model right here, zoom in on it for you here. Alright, so looking at the list for the larynx model, the first one on the list is the epiglottis. Now if I open this up here just a bit, the epiglottis again is this flap, the flap that comes down and covers the opening to the larynx. Vestibular folds and vocal folds, again the top one is vestibular fold, the bottom one is the vocal folds. The glottis is an opening. So if I actually put this back together here, and if you look down that hole there, that is a glottis right there. It is the actual opening. So the epiglottis, which is right here, will cover this hole, which is called the glottis. Then you got the cartilage. You have the large thyroid cartilage, you have the cricoid cartilage, and then you have the trachea again with all its tracheal cartilage going down it. So that would be the larynx model. The last list talks about the muscle model. I'm a muscle model guy. So if I rearrange my mouse here and pull up the muscle guy here for you. Okay, so you see some lungs and stuff. Okay, so I'm going to move some of these lungs here. Alright, so next on the list of the muscle model is the trachea. So again, the trachea is coming down right here. So here's the trachea. Here the trachea is split off into bronchi. You have the left primary bronchi and you have the right primary bronchi. And that splits up into further lobes. The lobes of the lungs, so you have the right lung that has 3 lobes and the left lung that has only 2. So if I put the lungs on here, the right lung has 3 lobes, superior, middle, and inferior. The left lung here has only 2. You have the superior and the inferior. That's it. That's it for the lungs. Next you have the diaphragm. The diaphragm is actually a muscle that is underneath the lungs. And so if I put the diaphragm right here and I turn this around here, there's the diaphragm muscle right underneath the lungs here, and this is what separates the respiratory cavity or the thoracic cavity from the peritoneal cavity where the digestive system lies. And the very last structure, the visceral and the parietal pleura. So if I take out all these lungs part right here, okay, the parietal pleura is always on the back of the rib cage right here. So right here, this is the parietal pleura is attached right to the rib wall right there, and the visceral pleura is directly on the organ itself. So visceral pleura, parietal pleura lines the rib cage. When you put them together like this, okay, it forms the visceral and parietal pleura with the pleural cavity in between, and that completes the structures of the respiratory system lab. If you have any questions, please post them on the forums and the blackboard. Take care all, and good luck in studying for the lab exam.